There you go. Well, good morning, everyone. Excellent. It's great when the technology works. Thank you for turning up. This is a huge turnout for our community forum here in Boyne Island, Tannum Sands. It's great to be here this morning. I'm very excited about, obviously, all the conversation we're going to have, but particularly around the Boyne Tannum Aquatic Recreation Centre, which has been a key priority project for Gladstone Regional Council and the community of Boyne Island, Tannum Sands for a number of years. So I'm going to kick straight into that. I have a whole bunch of councillors here. Actually, they're pretty much all here. Deputy Mayor, Khan, Glenn, Leanne, Simon, Karen. I'm not sure if Simon's here. He's had a big week. He might not be here just yet. Have I missed anybody? Simon, Leanne, Glenn. I don't know. Probably have missed one of them. Have I? Sure. Who did I miss? Who, sorry? Michelle. I know, sorry, I haven't missed Michelle because I'm getting to Michelle. Michelle is representing us at the toy run this morning at the Ulysses Toy Run, which I go to every year and try not to miss it because it's a big event for the Ulysses Motorcycle Club, but also their toy run's one of their big fundraisers for the Salvation Army. So Michelle's representing me at that, and I thank her very much. We also have a couple of former councillors here, former Councillor Craig Butler and Vic Michelle, so thank you for joining us. And I can see a lot of long-term locals in the room as well. So obviously you know a lot of the history of the community here, and it's fantastic to have you here, but some new faces in our community as well. So let me give you, I've got a slide pack, but we're not running through that just yet. Because the slide pack was prepared by our officers and all good intentions. They want to explain to you in detail the history of what's gone on with the Boyne Tannum Aquatic Recreation Centre. I want to tell you from what's happened from my point of view. So we amalgamated councils in 2008. That's where we're starting. This is where this began. And during that time, the conversation around a pool for Boyne Island had been discussed many times. I remember when I was a young fella, we used to go to the pool at Tannum Primary School on a Saturday morning, and you could use the pool there for recreation on the weekends. That's where we'd hang out. Most of my friends, because I went to Toowoomba State High School, grew up in Boyne Island, Tannum Sands, because we had 4 buses from Boyne, 4 buses from Tannum. My best mates all lived here. So I spent most weekends in Boyne Island, Tannum Sands, and we'd spend a lot of time at that pool. As the community grew, the pool became more and more for use for the school and only for the swim club. Don't need to tell you that, that's the facts. So for a number of years, our council, I guess, discussed, debated the future of pool and the cost of pools. Pools don't make money. I think you're all aware of that. It costs a fortune to run. And so, building a new pool, a new aquatic centre was going to cost the ratepayers money. So my point of view at the time, and Rick Hansen was on the council with me, and Rick and I agreed many times on the aquatic centre, and one of them we agreed on was we needed to build a pool, but someone else had to pay for it. It couldn't be the ratepayers, not solely the ratepayers. Obviously, there's going to be ongoing operational costs, but we needed to get a state or a federal government grant for this to happen. So we went through and kept debating with state and federal government elections, trying to get funding for the pool, and it never really happened. And then in 2018, Councillor Goodluck, then I think was probably the councillor, may have been Deputy Mayor, put forward a notice of motion to really push it through from the operational arm. The elected members really wanted an aquatic centre. We needed to make sure our operational arm was in sync, and they are. So in 2018, a notice of motion was put to council, and then from there, we then went and did a business case. We did feasibility studies, we did site analysis, and we did options and details and concept reports. And all those reports are done, and including that site analysis, picked a number of sites, which included, thank you, Simon, I see he's here now. He's had a big week and he's still here. Thanks, mate. So you can see how important this project is to council. Every councillor is here this morning, and the only one who's not is because she's representing me at the toy run, and I thank her for that because she did want to be here this morning. So then we did all those site analysis, and that's not cheap, they cost money. And we looked at a number of sites, including Arthur Street, including Coronation Drive, including Kalori, and the top 5 sites included those sites I've suggested there now. And we ended up going with Coronation Drive, mostly because we owned it. Not because necessarily it was the best site, because a lot of the community feedback was, let's spend the money building a pool, rather than using the money to buy land. Well, then the federal election happened, and I nominated as a federal candidate, and I secured $15 million for the Boyne Tannum Aquatic Recreation Centre because those business cases that we'd done, those concept designs that we had done, and the feasibility studies that we had done, was the information and the firepower I could take to the then opposition, who are now in government, to say, I need $15 million to build this Boyne Island, Tannum Sands Aquatic Recreation Centre. And we got that funding committed in the budget, and it's still there, which is fantastic news for our community, which is what Rick and I wanted from a long time ago to always build an aquatic centre for Boyne Tannum and hopefully get other levels of government to pay for it, because otherwise it's your ratepayer money that is going to go into building a pool. Why shouldn't you get some of those taxes you paid back into our community to build this aquatic recreation centre? Now, during that time, cultural heritage studies were done and made no identification that this was a culturally significant site. And I know some of you, as I said, have been here a long time and have probably seen the land apparently being cleared over a number of years. I mean, I grew up in Gladstone, spent a lot of time coming to Boyne Tannum. I don't remember it being cleared, but I know from locals that it probably has. And the reason that I say that is because you probably have seen it and thought, what's the cultural significance of this site? Because of the initial evaluation is that it wasn't. Future studies were done, and at that time then, I had to declare a conflict of interest because I'd secured the 15 million as a federal candidate. I was out of the council chambers for a good year while the discussion was being had. The site that was then assessed with satellite imagery and a significant cultural heritage find. Now, I can't tell you what that is today, and I'm sure you all want to know what it is. That is not for me to tell you. That is for our traditional owners, our First Nations people, to announce at an appropriate time. It's their history, it's their significant cultural heritage, and they will announce that. I can tell you from what I know, because I do know, it is a significant find. And when I told, and I was allowed to, tell the Federal Minister for Indigenous Affairs, she got goosebumps. She's a traditional First Nations person in Australia, and she is very excited about it. I've written to her and explained what it is and asked the federal government to come to the party in terms of securing the site. Currently we have it fenced. We need more permanently fenced. We need more permanent security so we can protect the cultural heritage significance that has been found. I've only been made aware of it, as I said. I had a conflict of interest, so I've remained out of the room for a number of months, probably a year, maybe more. It seemed like forever. When the person who'd been fighting for a project for so long, secured the federal government funding, and then only to be told by ridiculous state and federal government rules that you're not allowed in the room, that it's quite frustrating. But anyway, that's the rules we've got to abide by. Now, as I said, future studies were done, and that's not to take away from what the first initial heritage study was, because this was done with satellite imagery. So then council made a decision to look for alternative sites because that was the appropriate thing to do. And the Arthur Street site was determined, and at that point in time, Councillor Patrick declared a conflict of interest and left the room as well because they were looking at the site directly opposite a facility that she owned. So quite appropriately, and more appropriately, was out of the room. Council then made a decision, without Leanne and myself in the room, which I support actually. Had I been there, I would have supported it. They made a decision to purchase 2 parcels of land, not just one, there's 2 parcels of land there, and a third of that site will be used to build the Aquatic Recreation Centre. I'm very excited about it for 2 reasons. That's where I always wanted the pool to go. You would well remember that there was a developer that was very keen to build a development there, and we were all excited about that. And council tried to negotiate a good outcome for the community with the developer on that site. The proposal put to council was not a good deal for the community at all. I even offered as mayor at the time and said, look, how about we buy a section of the land off you, we'll build a pool, we'll even let the people that are staying at your resort in there for free, because I believe that's the best site for the pool. All those options were thrown out the window. They had their plan of how they wanted this to proceed, and we had our plan of how we wanted this to proceed for the community because it was the best, what is the best for your ratepayer dollars. So that's why the other site was chosen. This site then became available, and council has purchased that, and I absolutely support that because a third of the site will be used for a pool, which is what everyone wants, I believe, or the majority of Boyne Island Tannum Sands wants anyway. And then the rest of that site is strategic land we can either sell, which we'll probably be able to sell for more than we bought the land for, especially because there'll be an aquatic recreation centre right next door, or we can develop it ourselves into whether that's housing, whether that's community infrastructure, whatever the council of the day determined to do. The priority in the first instance is to build what we said we've been going to build for a number of years, and that is a pool. Now, I think that's pretty much where we're at. That brings us up to today. So there's lots to talk about today. I know that someone wants to talk about recycling, other people want to talk about other issues, and we'll get to all of those as well. But I wanted to start off what is no doubt the highest priority for our community. So they do have slides, so I'm going to click through them now. And unless I think I probably could go to questions. Maybe I'll go to questions, because the slide pack is probably just going to say what I've said, but from an officer's point of view, and I think I could probably answer some questions on those now. So let's go here. Straight, Rick, Michelle. We got a microphone coming to you.
People at home. People that don't know me, I'm Rick Bishop. I've lived in the area there about 58 years. 28 years on the council. My concern that is, council bought that land in freehold title. Under one of the acts, native title distinguished on freehold land. Another part of the act says, freehold title distinguished the title state that does not distinguish cultural and cultural heritage. That's good and well. If it is a cultural site, good. But I don't believe the ratepayers should be able to give it to, or they should take it off ratepayers. If they want it, they pay for it. And I think, right, I don't know how much money you've got left out of 15 million. How much has it cost us so far?
Yep.
But I think that's on the accountable. If they want the land, they pay for it. If they want the fee, they pay for it, not the ratepayers.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. I've already written to the Minister and specifically requested. In the first instance, it was appropriate for us to fence it, and there will be a cost in that. We're detailing the cost and what that is, and we will, as I said, I've written to the Minister and said we're seeking federal government support, as in funding, to cover the cost of the fencing, but a more permanent fencing, not just for the temporary fencing, a permanent security of that. It probably involves some of these facilities. Sometimes when you find culturally significant sites like this, they've been desecrated. People go in there and ruin them and wreck them. So I have no doubt that that the PCCC will, I'm hoping they'll make that announcement. I was hoping they would be here today. I did put an invitation out to them to be here today. It was a little bit late, but they got the invitation and they declined to be here today. They're busy with other things, and that's okay. They will make their announcement when appropriate. I have asked them if they could please tell the community because they want to know. But again, it's not my history to tell. It's not mine to tell. But in terms of the costs, as I said, I've written to the Federal Minister, asked them to give us support to cover the cost of security, to cover the cost of ongoing investigations that will need to be done, and any enhancements that will be needed to be done to the site as well. In terms of native title, this is not a native title issue. It's a cultural heritage. Yeah, hopefully that.
One is, actually, that land owned by Kerford Lane,
Yeah.
they applied for a subdivision, the Countryside approved it. But those days, the cost didn't warrant, so they withdrew. Council bought it, we cleared, or Kerford cleared, stick breaker in 2000. And since before nomination, it was done twice again. So that land been cleared, stick break 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to know what we left there that hadn't been disturbed.
Yeah, well, and I wasn't there at the time, obviously, but I can tell you it's a significant cultural heritage find, and they didn't find it when they walked the land. When some of our traditional owners in the region walked the land, they didn't see it either. It wasn't until they did satellite imagery that they could see what they've found, and it is significant. And we have archaeologists, independent archaeologists, confirm it. So you'll find out. And I'll tell you one thing about this. This is the thing I'm most excited about. The pool has been the #1 priority project for council and for me as a councillor and mayor for at least 8 years. It no longer is. The site at Coronation Drive is now the most exciting project I believe we have on our books. We're going to build a pool here. Finally got the funding, finally got a site. You beauty. We've done all the detailed designs, we've done the concept plans, we've done most of the town planning, or most of the town planning has been done. It's the community support the project, I'm hoping. The other side, once we all get through it, once we all find out more about it, I believe you'll be as excited about it as I am. Well, like I was saying before, it's totally a decision for the PCCC, our Port Curtis Coral Coast, and I'm meeting with them in January. Christy, I think we're aiming to meet with them in January. I would like them to announce it today, but I think they would prefer that the site was completely secured before they go in and do that.
When do you find out whether they're going to give you the money that you asked for?
Well, it's only happened in the last few weeks, so I've only just written to the Federal Minister for support. I have no doubt, based on her reaction when I told her what it was, that we'll get federal government support. I haven't even asked for state government support, that's next. I wanted to go to the federal government because she will understand, and the state are just in the middle of an election, and I will meet with the new state minister. But the federal minister understands exactly what has been found and understands its significance. And I have no doubt she'll be forthcoming with funding. Otherwise, I'll be down there banging on their door like I am every other weekend saying, come on, pitch in. Our community does a lot for this state and nation.
They don't do that last season, then we pay for it.
Well, it doesn't work like that because we always get, you apply for a grant for a project that you want to do, like a pool, and then you get a grant, you're successful, you go ahead with the project. This was needed immediate action from the council, which is we've taken, and the appreciation from our First Nations people is pretty significant. They're very grateful the council's made the decision to secure the site and to relocate the site. And based on that, I believe we'll have their support for a federal government or state government to support us in not just protecting the site, but securing the site and anything that goes on from here. It is not council's plan to spend hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars at this point in time. I'm speaking without speaking to my councillors, but I understand it's not our plan to spend a fortune or ratepayers' money doing anything more than secure that site for now until we have a full understanding of what the PCCC plan to do with that site.
We can't be reimbursed that cost.
Well, that's what I've asked the federal government to reimburse us. But we're talking minimal costs of fencing at the moment. That's all we're talking about, minimal costs of fencing. And as again, I think I'd be pretty miserable as a mayor to say let's not fence it because we can't afford some fencing. We absolutely can. And that's the very least we can and should do as a community. And in time, we might be very wrapped with what we've found at this site. And that's great.
Matt, has the council had a valuation done on the site?
On Coronation Drive?
Yes.
Not yet. No. Well, what would we need a valuation on the site for at this point?
If you want to go to the federal government and get funding, you can show them the value of the site. If you want to negotiate with the PCCC, you need a valuation to negotiate.
Yeah.
That was in the third port of call.
No, the first port of call was, thanks Craig, but I believe the first port of call was asking to reimburse us for, or to help support what we've already done. Our valuation can happen in 3 months, 6 months. We're not going to get reimbursed. If we ask to be reimbursed for the block of land, that's not going to happen in 6 months, 12 months. And my two former councillors will be well aware that this will take years. So I'm not too concerned about being reimbursed for a block of land that council bought 50 years ago or however many years ago, or was given as part of a subdivision. I'm not too concerned about being reimbursed for that. What I'm happy to do is, not right now, not today, in 2 or 3 years' time, because Rick, you know these things take time. We're not going to go to the government and say, right, we found this, now you give us the money for it. That's not how you treat your First Nations people, and that's not how you treat the federal government. You go in there and you say, we found this. This has cost us some money to secure the site. This has cost us money to protect the site. Let's work together, walk hand in hand, and work out how we're going to protect this site going forward and who's going to pay for it. And I know from the feeling from both of you that you would like other people to pay for it, and I have no doubt that's probably what most people would like as well. What I want to do is to park that, deal with our building our aquatic centre on this side, and walk hand in hand with our First Nations people about how we take this project, their project, forward.
And we're in the middle of a housing crisis. That block of land has had a previous subdivision approval over it. It's a very, very valuable block of land. The council need to move and create some housing, some land, develop land on that site for people to purchase and build houses on.
Oh, we could, if we,
It's a housing crisis.
I love how that the mayor is now responsible for the national housing crisis, which we're not, but we have more than, council has more than 3,000 lots available for developers to, 8,000, thank you, Khan, available for developers to build in this region. There's 2 reasons people aren't building. One, they can't get the trades. Have you tried to get a tradesman lately? And 2, they can't get the materials. They're the 2 biggest reasons housing isn't happening in Gladstone and around the nation. I actually sit on the ministerial council, so I know it's not just in Gladstone, it's around the country. We have a national housing crisis, and yes, we do have land available. Council is making land available in Phillip Street for exactly that. That is not the site for housing development. I always wanted the top section to be a Kmart or a Big W or a department store, and I still do. And hopefully the top end is still available for that. But I'm not aware, until we do all the final cultural heritage on that site, what the outcome will be. Tim.
My question is, like, I know the council mentioned it, and I accept that the council has to do what they need to do there. My question is around the amount of consultation prior to the site being chosen with the community was extensive, and I think that was great. And I feel like the change in decision has been made behind closed doors. So that site couldn't be used, that's fine. So we had to change the site, but there's been no consultation, no communication with the community about that change and why they had to happen. Like it's happened, the land's been bought, and it feels like that's all happened behind closed doors.
Thank you. Good question. And I wasn't in the room at the time, but I'm not throwing the council under the bus at all because I actually support their decision. And I support why they came to their decision. So initially, there was a site evaluation done, a number of sites. During the initial consultation, the community were asked for their sites, their preferred sites, and this Arthur Street site was one of them. Kalori was another one, and as was Coronation Drive. So the community, by and large, already supported this. So when the council was making the decision, the block of land became available. It was on the market for $6 million. You can Google this stuff and give you the facts. It was on the site for $6 million. They made a decision to have a conversation. I was at the room because I had the conflict. They then asked Leanne to leave the room because one of the sites was over here. Confidentially, they made that decision because had they said, we're looking at this site now, because there's already talk in the community of what was happening at Coronation Drive, it wouldn't have got it for 5.1, which was $900,000 less than it was listed for. It would have been $7 or $8 million. That's a fact. I can tell you because it happened in Gladstone in the main street. As soon as we started looking at purchasing, and Maureen would have been there at the time, purchasing down near opposite Library Square, everything went up. That would have happened here. So I absolutely support the council decision to purchase that block of land based on previous community consultation and based on the fact that it's just the right place for the pool, in my opinion.
How are you, Daniel? Needs. As a resident of Arthur Street, just recently purchased. So I've got a couple of questions in relation to what was just discussed as well. How is consultation to take place around traffic management, noise assessment? You mentioned that there's been feasibility studies conducted already. Has there been updates now that the new proposed land has been purchased for that?
Well, I've only just got back into the room. So the reason I'm back in the conversation now is because I put it on the council that I'm not running for a federal seat. So I no longer have a federal conflict of interest and I'm back in the room. Those studies would take place in general, but maybe I might have to get an officer to answer that for you, and they can probably answer that for you shortly, and I'm happy for her to answer it publicly, or a councillor that was in the room. But those studies will absolutely have to take place. You can't even hold an event in the main street without having a traffic management plan. There's no way you can build a pool without one. So they'll definitely happen. I'm just not sure at what stage they're at the moment. Carmen?
Sorry, thanks Daniel. And Mr Mayor's got it covered, but he was out of the room for a while, and as a person who moved the motion, there's probably no one who knows more about the project than myself. But I'll just clarify, with the community consultation, there was 3 main sites that were fairly evenly split as the choice that the community chose from. Arthur Street was one, Coronation Drive, and then Kalori. They were about 35% each. It was fairly evenly split. So the consultation, the community was 3-way split pretty evenly on those 3 sites. And that's why council sort of thought, well, it's all right to move quickly, we can make that decision. And as the Mayor explained around costs and things, there is an approved development application, Dan, for this site up here. And then that will we're going to change some designs and things. We're basically picking up the work that we've done on the other site, adapting it to fit this site because it's an approved development application. So that traffic management study, a lot of that work was done. But when we get to the point where we move forward, there'll be operational works, there'll be other things that have to sort of go into depth around, traffic impacts, noise impacts, all those different types of impacts that'll be standard processed through a development application.
Thanks. Makes sense.
Just a question.
We've one here, then one over, so Vicky.
With this side here, it's to me, looking at it, so I'm not an engineer, but is it going to cost more to build a pool there because it doesn't look like a very flat land? And I'm assuming, 50-metre pool, there's a lot of pressure in that water.
My understanding is it's less. Thank you. My engineers and experts are telling me I understand it's a lot less. So there you go. Vicky.
I don't need one.
She's done plenty of auctions without a microphone.
With, you're talking about the pool all the time. Now, with that 1/3 that you're talking about, is that just a pool or is it the pool and the water park?
Yep.
Or is the water park separate?
No, for the whole aquatic centre, aquatic recreation centre, which is water slides, pool, kiosk, whatever else future is in there, is the 1/3 of the site. So that'll probably no doubt include the car parking, I would hope. Yeah, and that allows the council then to use the other space for something else, but there is 2 blocks there. We could absolutely sell the other block. And I'll go back a bit. Where's Leanne? I'll give Leanne credit because as a councillor, my preference was always for a 25-metre pool. And I heard loud and clear from the swim club and others that a 25-metre pool wasn't loud enough. It wasn't until I was at Leanne's house that she beat me down and said we need a 50-metre pool, that's when the advocacy came for a 50-metre pool for Boyne Tannum, because I was always of the opinion a 25-metre pool would suffice, because we still had the one at the school, and that was 2 pools for a community this size, and I've still got Agnes Water who would like a pool as well, and Miriambola would like a pool, and Mount Larkin would like us to keep their pool open. So pools are expensive, and I thought, well, a 25-metre pool would have been enough, but then I heard loud and clear from the swim club, loud and clear from the community, but thank you, Leanne. Beat me into submission in the end, and 50-metre pool is what we're building now.
So the other question is, when the other people were going to build the pool, I believe that the entrance and exit was from Arthur Street. Is that going to stay the same, or are we looking at changing that?
That's possibly going to be changed. It's the same, sorry. As I said, I've been out of the room for the last part, I'm catching up on that now, sorry.
But those plans were all over Facebook at the time of what they were building there and where the entrance and exits were. So are they going to stay those plans, or are you going to tweak it, or are you going to change it completely?
My thought is we would adapt from what we were planning to build on Coronation Drive and put on this site and use what has been successful in theirs and make it work. But Carly's telling me now we're using their entry and exits. Maybe you can answer that one for us. Thank you.
So to receive their development approval, there was obviously a lot of significant work with traffic management plans and all sorts of plans that go with development approvals. So we'd like to reduce the cost on ratepayers and use what we can out of that. We do want to make sure that we get the design and the concept that the community wanted over here. So it's merging the two. But it's likely that basic things like the entry and exits will be the same. But we will have to revisit traffic management plans and make sure that when we've got our new detailed design, that everything still gets approval. We need to follow our own regulations as well to get approvals.
What's the time frame on that?
That's one of the slides. The time frame is swimming in summer 27.
So not for the completion of the project, we're still waiting for the final approval, right?
Yes, so we'll be submitting our development approval early in the new year, and then generally they'll take 10 to 12 weeks probably.
Okay. So prior to anything starting, is there going to be a notion put forward to the residents on the street what's going to happen? Because that hasn't happened as of yet.
Eric, do you want to talk about consultation? Is there
So when we are ready to build,
sorry, Eric's our project manager, so he's got the details.
And he needs a microphone.
so when we are ready to build, there will be, pardon? Yep.
The development approval.
Yeah, so during the development approval process, the previous proponent would have had submitted their relevant drawings for the entry and exits for the sites, as well as how it's going to impact traffic movement once the facility is built. And that's actually assessed as part of the development application process.
That's approved.
That is approved, yes.
So when can we see what that's going to look like?
You can actually see it now. It's actually on Council's planning application tracking online system. That's the one. But I'm more than happy to send that to you and provide that to you. We can also make it, well, it's already available on Council's website. We are actually using the existing proposed entries and exits because if we were to change it, if we need to, the change application process and the review of the plan will have to be reconsidered. And then in consequence of that is more time lost to planning and regulation. So in the interest of the project and keeping it moving forward, the key things that a planner assesses, we are trying to retain to not lose more time in red tape essentially.
Cool. Another question there. Eric, I need that one. You're right.
Yeah, Matt. My name's Tony Cook. I'm quite happy with where they're going to put the pool now. I was my preferred option from day one. Now it's been back and forth. It's been here, that's good. The only issue I really have over it is who will have ownership of the pool. I see on the paperwork that the swim club has already sort of been noted that they'll have representation on the use of the pool. Will the pool be a community pool or will it be a swim pool for a certain swimming club, and we have to sort of work in with them? And I'll why I've been that up is, you mentioned earlier that the pool they built out at Tannum, which was going to be a community pool when it was first visioned. My wife was on the fundraising committee for that, so I know a bit about it.
Yeah.
There's no time was taken away from the community to become a school pool. I don't want to see this pool here suddenly be taken away from the community and become a swimming club pool, and we have to work in around that.
No, well, the plan is for it to be a community pool, community recreation centre, aquatic recreation centre, but the swim club will have significant access to it, as does the swim club in Gladstone. Primarily, it will be a place to train and a place to learn to swim, but ultimately will also be a place for recreation. That's why it's called a recreation centre as well. So it will be a place for the community. We're not building a pool for a swim club, but they will be the major beneficiary. There is no doubt about that. They're one of the biggest swim clubs in the state. And one of the best too, I might say. Any further questions? Jen?
It's okay. In the slides,
Yeah.
is there a slide showing actual spend to date on what you've done on the previous locations and forecasting future spend for what you are going to do with this amalgamation of the private development and all of their development? You know, obviously that's going to be a great offset if you can use some of their previous approvals and their design. And then what's the forecast expenditure for this new site? And then on top of that, have you started to forecast a timing estimate to get us swimming in 2026?
We have that last one. I can answer the others. I don't know if they're all in the slide pack because I wasn't intending on using a slide pack. I was just coming here to tell you everything from the heart, everything the history's in my head. So slide packs were doing nothing for me, but I thank the team for putting them together.
That's fine. You want to make the slide pack of all the costs available and the forecast timing, that was great.
I know the forecast timing is December 2026.
Yep.
Summer 26, Carly? Thank you.
And the cost to date for the front
Yeah.
design,
Yeah, so
compared to this one?
I think it's about $2 million so far to get to this point. But I want to reiterate, I wouldn't have got 15 million had we not done the studies. You don't get money from the federal government unless you've got the backing. And the backing was the community supported this, the community wanted it, they've been asking for it for a long time. And this is the feasibility of it, this is the business case, this is the master plan, the concept designs, we've done all the hard work, give us some money, and we got 15 million. So I'm not at all upset that it's cost this much to get to this point, and I'm not at all upset that we've spent the money to buy that site over there, which is 5.1, listed for 6, would have gone for 7 or 8, and we can actually sell the other parcel of land. We had to buy both parcels, that was the deal. So we can easily sell the other one, and it could be for housing. If we're going to put housing, great, that's a better location. And I think there was a developer who was looking at putting some kind of accommodation or at least a resort or something there. I think what a great view with Boyne River. I'd certainly buy a house or a unit there, but probably couldn't afford it. But it'd be lovely. You know, we can make a fortune out of that and hopefully recoup whatever the costs were, if not more than the cost of that land, which gives us a fantastic facility in the long term.
And then a forecast cost, I understand it's 2 million today for that first site.
Yeah.
What are we expecting? Just ballpark, come on, there must be engineering.
They'd have to be, yeah. So can someone come and have...
$1 million to spend on this, or are you looking at 750,000, amalgamating what was the private developer with your existing
Just to get
plans?
to construction or in?
Yep, it's your front end design up until you start,
Can I give you the mic for that one? I've been out of the room for the last bit, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can talk to it if you like.
Yeah. Please. Yep.
So yes, as the Mayor said, we've found some efficiencies by taking our our detailed designs from the previous site and moving it to here. So the current forecast cost for this next body of work, which includes getting our change application under the Planning Act requirements, as well as making sure the detailed designs are done to prepare us a tender, we're looking at around 1.1 million. Yeah, and please understand that cost is significant because we've got to do boreholes and drill into that land to make sure that what we are building, from an engineering perspective, is going to withstand life of the asset.
I have another question.
Sorry, there's someone down there, then we'll go to Vic. Eric, I need that.
We'll get it.
Thank you.
Excuse
just ask that whoever's speaking use a microphone. It's okay if you're up the front, Matt can hear you, but people down the back have no idea at all what you're asking.
Yeah.
So I have no question, but whoever wants to talk, can they please use your microphone so everyone in the room can hear?
Yes, no worries. We have one from Vicky, then one down the back, so maybe we have to give you the mic, Vic.
Just for my understanding, everybody here, when the first lot of people were doing all their investigations to build this pool and whatever they were building, they would have gone into, soil testings and things like that, I'm assuming. So if they've done all that work, and I'm assuming again, put to council, can you not use that or buy that off them cheaper than to do the whole lot all over again?
My understanding is we'll use what we can, but Ericsson might be able to. No, you need the mic.
Sorry, of course.
Lady made it very clear.
People would say I'm generally loud. We will use the design in relation to the building, but we cannot use the soil testing results because it's essentially from a different site.
No, I'm talking about this side. I'm talking about this side.
Oh, this side. Look,
We've already looked at and we've already gained their pool.
I may be being a bit cheeky in my response here, but I can say that the private developer did the minimum they can to get development approval across the line. And that did not include detailed soil testing, so that was not part of the assessment process. Because fundamentally, the planning scheme just requires an approval of a concept of what they want to develop. And then once they've got that approval, they outwork the process, all the engineering stuff, all the relevant technical studies that need to be done outside of that framework. So, if I'm being cheeky, but I am honest, I've seen what they've submitted and it wasn't a lot.
Thanks, Harry.
Hi, can you hear me?
Sure can.
I'm not sure if the relevant personnel in the room or whether it's anything, but I was just thinking along the lines of, I'm not local, but to my understanding, if 50-metre pool is here, there would be no other, it's not a 50-metre pool within hundreds of kilometres, is that right?
Oh, no, well, Gladstone has a 50-metre pool.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that, okay.
But it does allow the swim club to host competitions, which they can't host at the moment.
Is that outdoors, your 50-metre pool, Gladstone?
Gladstone 50-metre pool is outdoor, and they have a 25-metre indoor pool, and they've got future plans for hydrotherapy and things like that.
Oh, right, no, I was just thinking along the lines of recurring monies by being a regional centre for training or for elite competitors, whatever.
It'll definitely allow for that to happen. The club will be able to host probably, hopefully state, probably not national, but definitely state competitions. There's probably someone from the SWIP club who can tell you what this means for them. Yeah, and there you go.
Question here, for the SWIP club stuff as well. So I was part of the group who did a fair bit of the discussions with the council in the first place and spent a fair bit of time with the swimming club. Now, over the last 12 months, everybody's been under the cave of silence and you couldn't get an answer. So the president was trying to find out whether the actual pool was competition compliant.
Absolutely.
And the answer, we don't know, and now he's gone.
Well, we've given them that answer many times, but absolutely has to be competition standard. It's disappointing that the previous one wasn't, but there was only a small pool, it was a school pool, it was a community pool at the time, but this absolutely has to be, and will be. Yeah, there's no point. Oh, there you go, behind the slide. They did do a lot of work putting these slides together, so if there's any others you want to rotate while I'm talking, that'd be great. You have been, okay, good. So, yes, definitely the competition compliant.
So the answer is it is competition compliant.
100%. It's a newer version of the Gladstone Aquatic Centre, 50-metre Olympic pool. Eric, am I right? Because if I'm not, it will be.
You're right.
Oh. Thank you. And there's a question, and Jody lives at the front, but we have to wait for a mic to get to Jody.
Thanks, mate.
So,
Yep.
With the two parcels that were purchased for 5.1, is that entire space over there, or are there leftover pieces?
Eric's still in its entire space. There would be some land that's probably owned by the Department of Fisheries or whatever they call themselves these days, wildlife, I don't know, Department of Resources. Not much. The site is ours now. I'm excited to see what we can do with that as well. I don't know what we can do, we've only just bought it. I only made aware we bought it after we bought it. Not bad, but still a good decision. Any further questions? Here we go. One there and then we'll come down the front.
I do, thanks, Matt. Pauline Drummond.
Oh,
I just want to ask a question, hi. I just want to ask a question about the federal government funding for 15 million. Is there a time frame around the start? Because as we all know, whether it's state or federal government, we've got an election coming, well, we've got a federal government election coming up in May. And once another government gets in, they push out some of the funding. So to get the 15 million, is there a start time prior to May, so that beyond May, if another government gets in, we don't get the funding at all?
Good question, great to see you. No, so the council wrote to the minister, which is Catherine King, and asked for an extension, explain what had happened, what had been found on the site, and asked for the federal government to give an extension to that, which allows ample time for the project to proceed. And the money's locked in. It's no longer an election commitment that originally was. Once the government was elected, it's honoured that project, and the project is in the budget and will proceed. I'd like to get some more out of them now, actually, but we'll see. We've got another, as you say, May. I think the election will be March, but that's speculation. We'll see. And we are asking the state to pitch in as well to try and reduce the cost of ratepayers as well, but I'm not holding the project up to get a state government grant. But in terms of the federal government funding, it's locked in. I have that commitment from the Prime Minister himself and also Catherine King.
And we have a sign.
And a signed funding agreement. Well, that's probably even more important.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question. What is to stop the Aboriginals putting a claim over this land for a ring or whatever on that site?
Oh, there's no claim on the land. There's nothing. There's nothing. My understanding that everything's been extinguished on that site. Everything has been it's gone through the cultural heritage studies because they've done the development applications have been through that process. If something is to come up on that site, then we have to deal with it at that point in time as well. But at this point in time, I'm fairly confident from what I've seen today that that'll be right to go ahead. And there's no claim so much on the other side. It's still owned freehold by council. The other side is still ours, and we will, as I said, work in partnership with our Port Phillip Coral Coast community, and we'll have a good outcome for everybody. Any more questions?
Mr. Mayor, it's a good point you can make. The original cultural heritage act means that we have.
Hang on, you better tell it now.
I think it's a good point the Mayor made there, that we can never be relinquished of our responsibility under those acts. So as we are building and as we are constructing, if something is found, we do need to disclose it and work through the various processes. That's legislation in this country.
Beauty. Hopefully I've been able to explain, and they've been rotating through the slides, which is fantastic, the whole history of the site and the whole history of the project, and hopefully giving you confidence that it's all proceeding exactly as we want it to in the right location now. And as for the other side, we'll find out more in good time. I'm sure you'll be all pleased with the outcome. We have a lot of other topics going on. One more before we go, and then we go on to the other topics that you raised for our committee forum.
Janice Lanian. I'm also impacted by Arthur Street, so I'll claim that as being concerned. On the traffic along Wyndham Avenue here is not very adequate or good at the moment. And I think that if we've got traffic going down and turning right into Arthur Street to fill a car park, could cause a whole bunch of problems. We know that every morning and afternoon, St Francis over the other side creates a traffic jam the whole time. The fact that council owns the whole land, perhaps it would be worth doing another traffic study, even though you're trying to save money, to look at the impact, because you're only developing a third of the block, but there's still 2/3 to develop, and that you should be looking more widely at how you're going to control the traffic for the whole block, depending on whatever's going to be developed there.
Yeah.
And I believe it should come off Wyndham Avenue. There should be some way of sorting that, because the roundabout up here, I don't know when it's going to fail, but it seems pretty damn close to me now. And has that been addressed? And that maybe the whole thing should be looked at more closely to run it all out of Wyndham, because I think if you start trying to bring it up, and it's a residential street, we've got all units there, lots of people, lots of cars as it is, along with all the kids that come hurtling down there with their skateboards, etc., on the wrong side of the road, and they're probably not going to stop either. So I'm just urging you to have a look at the traffic study for the whole area. And yes, that may cost more money, but I think it could save the community in the future.
Thanks, Janice. And Ali is here from our planning department, so I'll make sure that that's considered when they look at the amendments to the approved project today. Because that was, sorry? Yeah. Oh yeah, well I haven't thought about that yet, but then we already have to upgrade intersections as part of the previous approval. But I'll make sure that they're looking through that, and they can show them and share them with you as well what the upgrades, the intersections, the road upgrades are. So you're aware of those, and you think more unnecessarily. The good thing about being a council project, different to a developer's project, is we're going to listen to what you have to say, because we want to deliver what's best for the community, not what's best for their shareholders. You're our shareholders. Thanks. I might hand over to Tim to answer do the next lot of questions, because we had a few supply questions, and then we have an opportunity just to catch up with councillors and staff and everyone at the end. And also down in the far corner, if you have another CSR, she's waving down there now. What's your customer service request on anything? Whether you got a pothole, you need a new wheelie bin lid, I don't know, whatever it might be, your neighbour's dog's barking too much, or your neighbour's retaining walls falling down. Yeah, absolutely, go over there and put a CSR in. I'm going to hand over to Tim now, and thank you for your questions this morning. Sorry, hang on, we have one more from Rick. I've got to give you the mic, Rick. The lady down the back wants to hear you. And then Tim, I'll hand you. Yes. No, you're good? No, the lady down the back just wanted you to use the microphone.
Putting the other hat on, I'm President of Melbourne Wheel. On the 1st November, we sent a letter to council claiming that the road is under the straits, as far as I'm saying, Canoe Point Road. You improved the school down there, and increasing every year, and increasing traffic, just a point that dust then come down the road. My point is, your development plans, what plans did you have to get the school approval, and when you do some upgrading, because people walk down that road now on the beach wall, because they can't go on the sides.
Yep.
They're kids, brothers, parents, and it's bloody important.
Yeah, thank you. And Mark Francis here, who can answer that question. Councils have been discussing this for the last, it's been a hot topic for the last couple of weeks, but certainly something that's been discussed over a number of time. The school has recently received a grant for footpaths, but Mark can talk us through the road.
Thank you. I'm Mark Francis. I'm General Manager for Asset Environment, also Chair of the Transport Environment Advisory Group, which works with TMR and QPS with their traffic environment, which of course you know. The Canoe Point Road hasn't been conditioned to be upgraded because the school's moved there, because the school was never assessed. It was an accepted development. There's not been under any scrutiny from our planning department. There's been no conditions put on them to do anything. So if somebody was to build a school on a greenfield site, they'd be conditioned to take all their traffic as much as they can onto their own land. But that's not been the case. So actually this first development that we're doing, which is the multi-use sports facility, which will be a great asset for the community and for the school there, is the first chance that the planning team are able to condition things in relation to traffic for that school. Notwithstanding that though, we know that use has intensified. The great volunteer groups, which you mentioned, Meals on Wheels there. We've got the school, we've got various other things as well. So we do have a design for an upgrade, a curb and a channel, so we will be upgrading that road. We do have a design endorsed by our TI group, subject to funding and other availabilities. But one of the things the school are doing in response to the traffic environment is building a footpath in front of their frontage to provide a bit more safety for their students.
Can you give us a reply on letter? 5 weeks now. It's 5 weeks since that letter and you have no reply.
I apologise for that.
Personally, 5 weeks is a very long time.
I'll take it
5 weeks is more decent than anything else.
I'll make sure you get a response on Monday morning.
Thanks, Mark. I'm going to hand back over to Tim. No, sorry, Jen. You want Tim or you want Tim, right?
Oh, no.
Okay. Have a go.
Is there intentions in the council's strategic plan to look to build a second bridge to alleviate Malpass and Wyndham? Because it doesn't matter across the last decades.
Hodnott Bridge, you mean?
Everybody has to travel through the heart of Boyne Island. The congestion is astronomical. Do you have in the strategic plan to do that second bridge out before you actually have to go over?
Yeah, we do. And most people in this room will be aware of the Hodnott family and the name of the bridge, but which connects over the Boyne River near near Dennis Park. I was going to say cemetery, but it's not. It's Memorial Parklands, and connects over.
What's the timing?
Oh, the timing is now based on housing development. There's housing developments approved in those areas, and at the moment, it's a very, very expensive bridge. And we've actually, what we've done from a council point of view, we've purchased the land around the area in the state, in the industrial area, so that we can build the bridge when it's ready to do. As much as we'd like to build it tomorrow, it's a very expensive bridge and will require further subdivisions on the other side of the river, but also require probably state and federal government grants. And our priority, particularly at the moment, is to be building a pool. Tick that box, and the bridge is something I've been wanting to build for a long time. I know the family, I can't wait to be able to, probably won't be there at the time we open the bridge, but it'd be nice to be. The sooner the better. Jean and her family are lovely, and it'd be nice to name that bridge and open that bridge sometime soon, because I know how it's needed as well. I'm going to hand over to Tim now. You can talk about other things, but I've got Glenn Churchill, Natalia Muscat, Karen Goodluck, Leanne Patrick, Simon McClintock, and Karen Davis are all here. So grab them at the end of this as well, and give them all your CSRs, because there's a bunch of us and we're a team, and we all work together to deliver the outcomes for Boyne Tannum. Have a fantastic morning, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, man. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. This is the first of our community forums that will be taking place in this part of our region. It's not just about a single topic. The community forums are about anything that you want to talk about. We'll have, as the mayor mentioned, we have multiple councillors here who will be available to have a chat about anything you want to talk about. But another method for submitting questions is also our community questions. So that can be done on our engagement website, Conversations, where you can submit them online, or you can contact council on 49700700 700 or visit the council office to drop it in that way. And people will be able to vote online, and there was a little bit of confusion on the website, but it won't just be 4 questions. What it will be is the 4 most voted for questions will be the ones that we take away, and then we talk amongst the relevant officers, because they won't always be available to be here in person, so that way we can get the responses to the topics and the issues that you're most concerned about. Now, about 6 of the submitted questions were about the pool, and I think we may have covered that, but if you have any more, we will be opening up the floor to more questions afterwards. But first of all, to cover the topics that were submitted, number 1, we have, our large pickleball players require purpose-built courts to cater for increasing numbers of players in Boyne Tannum area. So for that one, I'll pass it to Mark Francis.
Say it's a large number of pickleball players as opposed to large pickleball players. We're really lucky in Boyne Tannum. We've got a number of great community and volunteer-led sporting clubs. It's great to know that there's another one on the horizon as well. In terms of infrastructure, our first preference would be trying to partner with an existing club and have them diversify into a new sport, if that's possible. Also, we've got tennis down at Canoe Point as well. So that's the first port of call to see if there's a way to coexist there. We are aware that we've got an old tennis court, an unused tennis court next to the golf club and bowls club at Garnet Park, Jacaranda Drive. So that's another option that we're looking into as well. That could be a low-cost option to provide additional sporting courts. And it's likely that would be something multi-purpose that we could have a number of lines on. Again, another community asset for us.
Thank you, Mark. The next question is, put a footpath along Centenary Drive, dangerous for prams, mobility scooters, wheelchairs. Centre plot is not a footpath.
Hi. It's the bane of our existence sometimes, what Councillor Churchill likes to call our missing links.
Missing links.
Missing links. And there are a number in our footpaths. This is not a no, but what we have is a pedestrian cycle strategy, which is prioritise our footpaths across the region. And that dates from around 2017, 2018, when we went out to community consultation. We've gone back out to consultation as part of a refresh of what's called the active transport strategy, and that was undertaken earlier this year. We'll be back in the boardroom to discuss the outcome of that and how that impacts the priorities that we have in our current strategy. We do spend between sort of $2.5 to $5 million a year on footpaths across the region. That's a significant investment. What we try and do is align ourselves to state government funding. And most recently, state government funding is focused on major arterial roads and the big 3.5 metre pedestrian footpaths and cycleways. They've now changed slightly their rules for funding, so we will be able to attract funding for more of our suburban, smaller scale. So, in summary, we will revisit the priorities in our plan, we'll talk to our councillors about it, and we'll try and come up with a forward plan over the next 5 to 10 years of investment in our footpaths based on the community feedback.
Thank you, Mark. Don't go too far. The next question is, please seal the turn around areas at Wild Cattle Creek, end of Millennium Esplanade. The erosion and dust created is horrific. And just to switch it up, I'll pass this one to Mark.
Thank you. I promised my other exec to do things. On the turnaround areas, we'll certainly have a look at this. We'll treat this as a customer service request. What we'll do is we'll get our asset inspectors to go out and have a look at this, and they can provide some engineering advice to us. It may not be necessary to seal. There's other things you can do with pavement stabilisation technologies that we could employ, but certainly we'll have a look at that. We'll expect a report back early in January from our asset inspectors, and we'll go back through our community conversations platforms to let you know if anything's going to happen with that.
Thank you, Mark. You can sit down now. The final question is, where does our recycling yellow lid bin go? What is the final destination of this recyclable waste? For that one, we actually have a video that's gone live on our YouTube channel. It's only 1 minute. Don't worry, you're not sitting down for a documentary. But it should give you an idea of where your yellow bin ends up. Unless the audio doesn't work.
It's fed onto the conveyor belt, sorted manually to remove contamination. Plastic, steel, glass and cardboard are separated.
Please bear with us, slight technical difficulties.
G'day Mason Region. Do you know what happens to all the recycling you put in your yellow bin?
Every day, a truck of your recyclables arrives here at the airport. It's fed onto the conveyor belt, sorted manually to remove contamination. Plastic, steel, glass and cardboard are separated through a series of machines and conveyor belts. They're packed in cubes to be recycled. All of our recyclables go to the Sunshine Coast Material Recycling Facility. This is a 5-hour journey to make sure your recycling ends up in the right place. We must recycle correctly to reduce waste to landfill and conserve natural resources. For plastics, remember to rinse and dry containers. Our recycling facility can only recycle plastics 1, 2, 4 and 5, and you can find the number on the base of plastic containers. Please, no soft plastics or shredded paper in the yellow bin, as these can choke the system. And for cardboard, only place clean cardboard in the recycling bin. Keep batteries out of your bins, as they can start fires. Take both ends and take them to your nearest participating battery collection location. Everything in your red bin will be buried in the landfill. We must reduce this amount by recycling correctly. Thank you for putting the right thing in the right bin.
As I mentioned, this is our first community forum in this area, so still couple of things to wrinkle out. But those are the end of the submitted questions. So we've still got time for a couple more from the floor that we can have the councillors or general managers respond to.
I've just got a question. As Tannum doesn't have a main street as such, the area from the physio right through to Coles is still a 60 zone out of school hours. It's 40 obviously within school hours. But it's quite dangerous there with people using the coffee shop coming out of KFC, coming out of Coles. And I think it'd probably be advisable if there's any chance of council making that a 40 zone through that very, very busy period every day.
I'll look at that. Mark Francis has an answer.
As well as chairing TA, also I'm on the Speed Management Committee, which again is QPS, TMR and ourselves. That's actually a main road area there, but we sit as council to represent the community concerns. We have looked at that stretch quite a lot and made a couple of small tweaks for it. The challenge we have is that setting a speed generally is an engineering thing under the Professional Engineering Act, and there's a state provided tool called QRSTUE, which allows us to look at speed, both from a risk and from an environment point of view, and it leads to an engineering outcome. So when that's been done, including taking what we call traffic counts, so whenever you drive over the lines in the road, go boom, that's essentially testing the speed of the number of cars that go across. In terms of a risk-based engineering assessment, it's not meant what are called warrants to reduce that speed on the whole, because generally the speed across there is between 45 to 50 on average. Peak speed sometimes is much higher, but that also gets confused with police and ambulance driving across as well. So currently it doesn't meet the engineering need to reduce it, but that TAG, Transport Environment Advisory Group, and SMC every 2 to 3 months. Councillors are on TAG as well, so they can raise issues through that for us. So we'll continue to monitor it, and the engineers from main roads and council will continue to consider what we can do to keep that stretch safe.
I'd just like to say that I have reported that council, and I was told, I have reported that to council and was told to contact TMR, which I have done, and just had an acknowledgement, but no answer. So what you're saying sounds a bit different.
Well, that was done probably at least a year ago. No, sorry. The engineering assessment volume was done a year ago, and the discussion at SMC, Speed Management Committee, was a year ago, so that was considered. I apologise that you referred to TMR. That could have been referred to me as the chair of SMC, and I could provide that information to you. I'll do that Monday as well.
Yes, I sent an email to
Apologies for that. That should have happened.
Recycle, mate. The statement in there was 1 truck a week goes to Nambour. So the query is.
It's 1 a day.
Sorry.
Sorry. 1 a day, it says.
Okay, so does that mean all the recycle is going down there, so nothing ends up in the landfill here?
Contaminated recyclables end up in landfill, unfortunately, which is why we've got an education piece coming out to the community about how to put the right thing in the right bin. But if it's in the right bin and it's not contaminated, then it goes, yes.
Okay, supplementary question, nothing to do with that one. Customer service requests or CSRs. I put a few in, but it's surprising how many people A, have no idea what the CSR is, B, where do you find it to put it in. I've been around Rotary clubs and several other sporting clubs there to find out. So at the moment I'm up to 180 people and only one person has said they've got any idea where to find it and how to do it. So I put a CSR in on CSRs on on how to actually get people to know where they are and how to put it in.
Thank you, that's definitely something we can take on board around how we're communicating. I guess for information of everyone here in this room, there's two very simple ways, 49700700, 700, and you can lodge a customer service request, or on our website. And I've just asked Tim whether he can possibly bring the website up live and we can show you where it is. And then if you can be our advocates and help those 180 people, that would be great, but we will also take on board about an education campaign.
Can point out as well that the website is going to be upgraded as well, and we're also looking at different ways that you can keep in contact with us. So you don't need to be on a specific device to get onto the website to click through these three things to get there. We'll be introducing a new form of messaging which you can use just like you message your friends. If you're on Facebook or any one of these, it's a messaging thing that you can just get in contact with. There'll be something on the other end of that to respond to you as well. So we're trying to respond and be where you are as opposed to having you have to come to us.
We also have the Smart Send Solve app.
There's a Snap Send Solve app, which a number of people use and find it really useful. We find it useful as well because it gives us exact coordinates of things when they come in as well. But we've also got some good mapping coming along, which will allow you to do some of that work on our system as well.
Were there any other questions?
This is relating to procurement, probably more so for the Aquatic Centre and potentially other projects. Obviously, with approval still going through, it'll be a while before work packages are released. But will there be an opportunity for local contractors and manufacturers to find out the potential components that are likely to be needed so they can start upscaling their capacity and capability to be able to meet the local procurement policy for that?
I also look after our capital program delivery, which is around about $100 million spent on average over the forward years in terms of upgrading infrastructure, and that includes the pool and other things. One of the things that councillors have made very clear to us is just doing that. So there used to be what we call capital forums, where we would give a forward view of our work. We're going to be much more transparent on that, so it's not just about the pool in terms of procurement. We also have things called a pre-qualified, register of pre-qualified suppliers. And that's when we think we're going to need a lot of work. We ask local businesses and national businesses and state businesses to respond to a potential need that we have, so we can go to them. We can't really get success from that unless we're more transparent in terms of the upcoming work. As you point out, Jodie, people don't know what we're going to need. It's not just a trade, it's maybe a specific thing. So that's one of the expectations that council have on me, is to make that more transparent and restart that engagement with our local suppliers.
I just want to also point out that none of these things that we do across council are quite singular. So we will also have our economic development team here who work really closely with the GDH, Jodie, and a lot of suppliers, and we've got a small business branding program as well as small to medium partnerships as well. So all of these things get integrated behind the scenes and these teams work together. It's not, we don't separate these things.
Colin on the roll. I wanted to talk about standards. So I put a fair few CSRs in on the state of the roads around here. So not only potholes between here and Napier Waters and here down to Bundaberg, but also in the last few weeks about UMCO railings, and then we had a discussion about which ones belong to the council and which ones belong to TMR, but also roadside mowing and whatever else. So I think if you were coming out from town today there, and I own four-wheel drive, so you can probably see over the top of the grass enough to see the amount of crap that's lying in the grass. So there's one pile of it there about 200 metres up from the South Street and off there. The industrial estate has been there since February this year. Most of the crap on the side of the road has been there, and the unco railing stuff that is damaged, or what I call unco railing, apparently the council call it roadside furniture. So I'd like to try and find out what the standard is, who sets the standard, and who can talk about that, and how we actually sort this out. I think if you drive down here, I think they sent me back can you please take a photo of the grass? So I took a photo out of the windscreen on the cruiser, so it's level with the top of the cruiser. Then another one rings me up and says, oh, well, it rained and therefore the grass grew. Well, to me, asset management tells you that's an input to asset management. And so if it rains, you need to cut the grass a bit more often. So we want to have a discussion about asset management. Try that one.
How long have you got? It's a great point. Obviously, what you're talking about there relates to a main road. They're not standards, they're intervention levels, and it's the amount of money that main roads want to spend divided by how much it costs to do it, and that gets a frequency. What we've done too often, though, is rely on those intervention levels to say we'll do it when it gets, on schedule or something like that. That's not appropriate. Again, councillors were very vocal through the budget process for our roads, and for roadside slashing, and for parks and open spaces, that we need to move away just from schedule and think about interventions. Exactly what you're talking about there, in terms of if it rains, if the conditions change, then we need to change and respond to it as well.
I think I came out of the industry, and most people who come out of the industry have defect notices, notifications, points of rounds, so they have people out there looking over this type of stuff and reporting it. So what I was probably trying to find out was, is the council waiting for us to put in CSRs to get something to fix, or are you actually doing positive checks on the place there? Some of those armco rails and that are unsecured at the front part of it, so I have seen them go through cars even after they've been bolted. So these are now broken, and the one at the roundabout down here is being hit again. So they are not secured. And in general, just driving around, and I come from out here, but driving into town, the place looks like it's been through a demolition derby in the areas near Glenheaton and whatever else. Let's have a discussion about standards.
We'd love to. The defect notice that you're talking about is something that we're working towards. Again, a lot of what you're talking about is main roads and their intervention levels. We may have a subcontract to work on those, but we're dictated by what their schedules are. We are, I could talk for hours on this, but we are about to move towards a much more proactive and preventative state, particularly for our roads. We have been too reactive and too waiting to find out. We do have 2,500 kilometres of roads, 900 sealed and the balance unsealed. That's very difficult to be 100% proactive on. We're looking at new technologies, working with JJ's a waste contractor to use a camera in their trucks, which will give us information directly into our maintenance system, including the height of the roadside vegetation and any broken roadside furniture. I'm happy to talk more about it.
Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, John.
I've had this discussion with Council Member and the Mayor as well, and I have a real concern about abandoned vehicles on the side of our roads in our place. To have a vehicle pulled over on the side of the road that has registration, as long as it's legal parking, it's safe everywhere. if the vehicle is pulled over by the police or someone and it's stolen or it's unregistered, they take the number plates off it and they leave it there. And I understand that fibre main roads rule, Department of Transport rules this, but that vehicle will sit there for up to 8 weeks. In that 8 weeks, everybody will notice that those vehicles have the windows smashed and tyres taken, every spare part that you can keep off that vehicle's done. And at the end of the day, they set fire to it. And as I said to the Mayor and Councillor Patrick, I said, why can't we change the rules? If the police find the vehicle that's unregistered or stolen, they call a tow truck, they take the vehicle to the compound, right, the owner or whatever is notified, and if they want the vehicle back, they pay the towage, they pay the storage. At the end of the day, if no one claims it, we would get far more money after the 8 weeks it taken to the actual location for storage for a vehicle that's in good condition that could sell it. But the ones that are mainly taken back now are scrap value only. And there's a current one sitting on the tool bench at the moment, all-wheel drive, sitting in the back. There's another one out on Red Road. They're everywhere. It doesn't do our community any favours and good looks. So I know you're tied up with the mayor and the transport. I think we need to change the rules.
Thank you. I'm Ali, I'm the General Manager of Customer Experience. Our local laws team are the team that look after abandoned vehicles, and we actually do currently have processes in place right now that you speak of, where we're working together with the police to be able to respond quicker, to get them impounded quicker and off the road so they don't cause additional safety hazards when they are damaged. Excuse me. In terms of some of those roads that you listed, they are transport main road roads where they retain responsibility for that activity. So we can try and have ongoing conversations about where they can try and respond quicker, but at the moment, that's with them to remove them from the road.
But that is a discussion that Councillor McClintock and Councillor Wagner, who represent us on TDAG, we're having that with main roads, we're asking for their standards, understand why it's taking so long, and try and challenge that a little bit because it's really frustrating. Thank you very much.
So the next segment is conversations with councillors. So we'll just do one last question.
Yeah, hi, my name is Jeff Wells. I'm the president of the BTARC Salt Club down here. I just got a generic question. We did a whole community forum around the BTARC precinct and irrigation upgrade to the irrigation systems and stuff like that. There was money that was budgeted by council, and the golf club was done. And I know we're putting support letters for funding that council has gone through to complete the rest of the BTARC precinct. Well, one part of the question is, I was just wondering where that funding was at and whether council was successful in pushing forward with that. And the other part of it is just, I guess, stressing the importance of it because, like, obviously we're all volunteers there maintaining those pitches and everything like that for the community. With the effluent irrigation, it's a great facility to have the effluent irrigation, but it makes it really hard when you want to do any sort of pitch rehabilitation. You're restricted to the amount of water you have. You can't return. Seeding is out of the question because you get a couple of days of hot weather and the seed is dead. I just wanted to stress the importance of those pots down there, and I was just wondering where the funding was at. Thank you.
Hi, Jeff. I can't give you an answer to that. The application is that we're waiting to hear back from the funding body. I'm told probably after Christmas it would be, unless they can rush out beforehand. But the application's in. We're calling it the detailed designs, the resolution was to do golf and wait for the appropriate funding for the rest of the precinct. So we're really hopeful to get that done.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much, everyone, for your questions. Don't go anywhere. We've still got the room until noon. So we'll have councillors and council officers here. You'll be able to grab a cup of tea, coffee, have a chat to them about anything else you wanted to raise. But other than that, thank you so much for attending. The next community forum for the area will be on the 14th of May 2025. So thank you very much.